Okay, good evening, everyone. Mayor Ted Betancourt. I'd like to call the school committee meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, May 10th, 2022. We are starting our meeting late today. I apologize. It is 7:52. We have a pretty lengthy agenda and some special guests here today, so I want to get into the meeting right away. We are being broadcast live on PAT, as we always are. Our minutes are being recorded by our recording secretary, Leanna Harris. And as we typically do, once we get to public participation, if there's anyone remotely that would like to enter into the conversation, please raise your hand on our social media platform through Facebook, and we'll bring you in to the meeting. If everybody could please stand for a moment of silence. I wanted to ask, we had a very sad passing in our city last night. Our longtime custodian at City Hall, who used to work for the school department as well, but has done a great deal for our school district and our school community in many ways. Passed away yesterday, last evening, after a very difficult battle with cancer. And if you could keep Frank Cook and his family in your thoughts during this moment of silence, and then we'll follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I think that was the best Pledge of Allegiance we ever had. That was really good. That was great. So if there's no objection, I'd like to go out of order, turn it over to our superintendent so we can introduce our special guest tonight.
No objection.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we'd like to jump ahead to Destination Imagination. So first I'd like to call Brown School teacher Diane Bulger up just to introduce our students. And we'd like to welcome them. Destination Imagination is something that is a very much a sense of pride for us. The students work together with their coaches, and they do some amazing STEAM activities and some challenges. If you want to come up just quickly and give us a little bit of an overview, and then we'll call the kids up.
Right there? Okay. So I'm Diane Bugler. So I've been part of the Destination Imagination program for 27 years. You can change the slide. Here's some facts. Oh, the slides kind of got messed up. So the facts are that it's an international program. There's 36 states, and Massachusetts is the largest affiliate right now. Peabody's been a part of DI since 1990. I've been doing this since 94. There's 5 teams this year that participated, which is small because COVID's really done a number on the program. We used to have up to like 12 to 15 teams that used to participate, but last year it was remote, and this year it was going to be live, but they weren't sure how it was going to be, and finally it was live, and so people were hesitant. The core values: teamwork, creativity, problem solving, and teams choose the challenge based on their strengths. So if you have kids that are really technical, they might choose that. If they're really into science, they'll choose that. A community service. I know there was a team at the center school. There's one at the Brown that did the community service challenges. They came in first and second, which is awesome. And the younger kids have an early learning challenge. They're multidisciplinary, they're cross-curricular, they totally go by the framework, so it can be done as a school project as well. And the biggest thing, I think, is the adult volunteer network. And if you go to the next slide, I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay, so teams form in early fall. They spend 2 to 6 months working on the challenge. February, March, the teams present at a regional tournament, and the high-scoring teams go to the state-level tournament. Although this year there wasn't a state tournament, they just went right to the state tournament because there wasn't enough to support the local tournaments. And then the winners would go to Kansas City. And we had 2 teams that qualified for that, but they decided not to go because I think it's just so many unknowns. So for Peabody, this is what I think makes us work probably better than some places. First of all, I'll talk about the teams. Teams have to be at least 2 members, but no more than 7. So that makes it really hard to be part of the curriculum on a daily basis, because it's really hard to say, like, in a class, you could pick 7 kids to do that with. So it's hard to do, although teachers can use the skills that you learn from this to be able to integrate into the curriculum. Students are grouped by pre-K, K to 2, 3 to 5, 6 to 8, or 9 to 12. There's also a university level. I had a student that came back who did do it in college and was so thrilled to be able to do that. There must be at least 1 adult team manager, 18 plus, and I've had kids who've done teams as a high school kid, willing to do that, and that's been awesome. And 1 volunteer adult appraiser per team. One of the amazing things is I've had adults that have helped me from year to year, some for close to 15 years now, work as an appraiser. We have some amazing teachers that are willing to work in the program. Joanne Campbell, Jackie Ciotti, who's a student teacher, Michelle Eugenio from the Center School, and Bob Marsden. And we have many parents. I just put the 3 up that did this year, but I could go on a whole long laundry list, including John and Bev, who've done that for years too. Jeannie Garcia, Michelle McRoby, and Mike Truisi. Mike's here tonight. And there's other parents who have volunteered to help. And this is not one of those programs that just, that one parent does it. All the parents have to be on board, because you have to let the kids do this. It's totally self-sustaining on the kids' part to do their this. And my volunteer appraisers, there's just so many of them, I couldn't even go on over the years. So that's the deal. What I'm hoping is that we can get bigger and better. You can go to the next slide, which is just, I hope I can get more kids to do this. So there's my kids. There's a bunch of adults who've been all part of this. You can see a whole bunch of them there. And I thank you for your support over the years. So you can bring the kids up.
All right, boys and girls, why don't we come up, and we'll let the committee ask some questions. You guys can describe a little bit about what you did. So thank you, Ms. Bugle. That was amazing. 27 years, and I think we keep getting better every year. So boys and girls, why don't you just say your name and what grade you're in, and tell us a little bit about what you did and why you enjoyed Destination Imagination so much.
My name's Abby Troisi, and I'm in 6th grade.
My name is Max Troisi, and I'm in 2nd grade.
I'm Alexis Prifty, and I'm 4th grade.
My name is Thomas Lowe, and I'm in 3rd grade.
My name is Evan Safridi. I'm in 3rd grade.
My name is Camden Werner, and I'm in 3rd grade.
My name is Murillo Souza, and I'm in 4th grade.
My name is Liam Hartford, and I'm in 4th grade.
Okay, boys and girls, does anybody want to tell us their favorite part of Destination Imagination? Go ahead. Step right up to the microphone.
The play.
So tell us about that.
I liked the one that you walked on the whole thing.
All right, buddy, thanks. Go ahead.
I like being able to spend time with my friends.
I like the working together.
I like the competition and being able to work with my friends. I like hanging out with my friends and meeting new people. I like hanging out with my friends.
My favorite was probably practicing, because everybody just did a great job on it, and it was a fun experience.
My favorite was practicing.
Excellent job. Any questions from the committee?
That was terrific. Great job, everyone. So yeah, let's open it up to the committee members. Mrs. Carpenter?
Thank you, through the chair. Thank you all for coming. Is it Alexis? Is that your name? Would you mind coming up and telling us about your trophy and the medal that you have on?
The trophy and the medal is for coming in second place in the DI tournament.
Can you tell me what it was that you did to earn that?
What I did to earn this was helping teachers in a tough time during COVID, even because they're doing so much for us.
That's wonderful. Good job. Congratulations to you all. That's wonderful. Thank you for coming. That was my question.
Thank you, Mrs. Carpenter. Any questions? Well, it's wonderful to have, Mr. Swanson.
Awesome. Congratulations to y'all. As Ms. Bugler said, I coached a team for several years, so I know what you guys went through. I'm extremely excited for you. And those that don't know the Destination Imagination, they have a project they have to do. But when they go to the competition, and Ms. Bugler, I assume it's the same as the years past, there's other challenges. They're graded on their project, and then they're also graded on some spot tests they do, some how they work as a team, how they interact, and how they problem solve. And to score, you have to be good at all of that, which is pretty impressive. So my question to each of you guys, I guess, is how was the problem solving this year? How is that spot, and I forget the exact name of it, that problem solving that you guys had to do this year? Yes, the instant challenge, thank you. How was the instant challenge this year? Oh, good. See, that was a test. That was the test. Great job. So I forgot about that aspect of it, actually, is when you come out, part of the grade is they watch you the rest of the day, and they don't want anybody to spoil it for the other teams. So good job on that one.
Nice try, Mr. Swanson.
I tried. Cheating.
Mr. Amico?
Great job, you guys. Do you guys want your picture taken with the mayor and the superintendent, and we can put it on the website? What do you think?
Can I have my picture taken with all of you right after? I think there's a couple more questions, but can we take a picture together before you leave? Yeah. All of us? That'd be great. Thank you, Mr. Amico. Good idea. Mrs. Dunn?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Congratulations to all of you. I think you all said what absolutely carries through every year about Destination Imagination, about how much fun it is. And Alexis, your sweatshirt, thinking way outside the box, that's the best part of Destination Imagination. You were all very, very creative, and you really had to think outside the box, didn't you? Yeah. And that is one of the biggest parts of the fun, because I know as a coach and as a member of like the audience, seeing the students come out and do their presentations, you never know what they're going to do. And the creativity is absolutely amazing. And it's a lot of fun to watch it, but I know it's a lot more fun to do it. So you're going to do it again next year? Yeah? Yeah? Okay, well, we've got to get more people involved too, because that would be really, really fun, and get more parents and kids to do this. It's a great program, and I was telling the students, if they stick it out when they're seniors in high school, Destination Imagination gives them a special tassel for their cap when they graduate, and they are allowed to wear that at graduation. So there's something, stay in for a long time and keep having fun, and you will learn more than anyone can imagine. So congratulations.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Terrific work. Very proud of you. Great job representing our city. Thank you. So we're going to take some photos.
Yeah,
All right,
absolutely.
Superintendent?
We're all very proud of you, and thank you to all the parents and Ms. Bugler, of course, for all the hard work that you put in. I know that it's not easy, and we're all very proud of you.
Let's go, Ms. Bugler, with us over here.
Stand right in the middle.
Yeah, get over here, Mrs. Eugenio. Okay, let's go back to the agenda. We have 3 sets of minutes to discuss and move for approval. The first one is our April 26, 2022 budget meeting minutes. I'd open that up for discussion.
Motion to approve the budget meeting minutes of April 26, 2022.
Second.
Thank you. You've heard the motion by Mrs. Carpenter to approve the minutes of April 26, 2022 of our budget meeting, seconded by Mr. Hockman. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
Mr. Hockman?
Yes.
Mr. Swanson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Present.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the regular school committee meeting minutes of April 26, 2022.
Second.
Thank you. You've heard the motion by Mrs. Carpenter for approval of the minutes of April 26, 2022 of our regular school committee meeting. That was seconded by Mrs. Dunn. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
Mr. Hockman?
Yes.
Mr. Swanson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve the budget meeting minutes of May 3rd, 2022.
Thank you. You've heard the motion by Mrs. Carpenter to approve the minutes of May 3rd, 2022 from our budget meeting. It was seconded by Mr. Olympio. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
Mr. Hockman?
Present.
Mr. Swanson?
Present.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Our next item is approval of bills. We do have a couple of warrants. Mr. Olympio?
I'd like to make a motion to approve warrant number 5028 in the amount of $143,879.63 dated May 10, 2022, subject to audit.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Olympio. You heard the motion for approval of warrant number 5028, seconded by Mrs. Carpenter. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
Mr. Hockman?
Yes.
Mr. Swanson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve warrant number 5030 in the amount of $957,090.54 dated May 10, 2022, subject to audit.
Second.
Thank you. You've heard the motion by Mr. Olympio for approval of warrant number 5030, seconded by Mrs. Carpenter. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
Mr. Hockman?
Yes.
Mr. Swanson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We'll go now to item 4, continued business. We have one item. Mrs. Dunn, any update on the Welch School MSBA project that you wanted to share today?
Nothing really out of the ordinary, just that we're working on planning the groundbreaking. You're all invited. You'll be getting your invitation in the mail. And the work that's going on right now is proceeding according to the schedule. They have had to make some adjustments with some of the bids and the dates that were put out because of the huge increase in materials and because of the timeline for ordering materials. So they've been making those adjustments and keeping us apprised of those. So the project is still going to begin on time on that last day of school this summer. So any questions, anybody, feel free to ask.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Any questions? Okay, thank you. Now we'll go back to Dr. Vidala, Superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the next item on the agenda is introduction of new principals. So as you know, Dr. Higgins has taken the job as Assistant Superintendent, which vacated the South School principal job. We posted that job, and as you all know, Dr. Higgins is very well respected and has big shoes to fill, and really there's only one person that can fill those shoes. For the past 6 years, Jocelyn Sullivan has been the assistant principal at the South School. She was a special education teacher and an excellent leader. She is really the only person who I think could come in and take over this job. I was at an event at the South School shortly after we announced Mrs. Sullivan, and Dr. Higgins wanted to publicly acknowledge her, and she got a huge ovation to the point where Dr. Higgins said, geez, I don't think I ever got an ovation that big. So, the school is very excited that Mrs. Sullivan is going to take over as principal. She is an excellent leader. Within our group of assistant principals, she has stepped up and taken a leadership role. I have the utmost confidence that she will be successful and will do a great job. And I'm very pleased to announce Jocelyn Sullivan as the next principal of the South Memorial Elementary School.
Hi. I just want to say thank you so much for this opportunity. I am very excited. It's going to be great. I grew up in Peabody. I went through the Peabody Public School system. My husband went through the Peabody Public School system. We both work for the city. Our kids go to school in the city. And I always say to anyone who, whenever we have a new hire that comes in, I always say, you're going to love it here. The people here are the absolute best. And I can say I tested it out. I worked here for 2 years, and I left, and I went to Marblehead for 2 years, and I came back for 2 years, and I feel like I have so much more appreciation for this district and the people who are here, and I love it, and I'm so committed to this city and this district, and I feel very fortunate to have landed at the South. Our teachers are amazing. Our whole staff is exceptional. The students are so fun. It was so nice to have students here today. It's happy and lovely. And our families are very supportive, very involved. The whole community is just so wonderful, and I feel very fortunate to have landed there. And I don't think I would have applied for a principalship had it not been open at the South. It's home.
Thank you, Mrs. Sullivan. This is terrific. We've known each other a long time, and I'm sure you're going to hear some wonderful comments from all of us, but we're thrilled that you want to be a part of our school district, and the impact you've already made is terrific, and I think it's just going to be even more that you're going to be able to do for us. So thank you for taking this challenge on. I can't wait to see the future for the South School. I'm a South School boy. I love that school, and I'm very glad to have you a part of our city, so thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Thank you through the chair. Just want to say welcome, congratulations, Mrs. Sullivan. I am so excited to have you take on this position. 2 comments that you made that really make me even happier is it's going to be great, and it's home. That makes a huge difference, and I know you're going to do great things there. I know that Dr. Higgins did great things there, and he'll be missed, but he's still around, and I thought the 2 of you made a great team, and I think you're going to do great things there, so congratulations.
Thank you. I have huge shoes to fill. My line is always, everybody loves Dr. Higgins. Like, if anyone's upset, I'm like, let me see if Dr. Higgins is available. And I'm like, no, that's me. But my parting line to everyone lately has been, it's going to be great. And I don't know if I'm convincing them or myself, but I'm always like, it's going to be great.
Thank you, Mrs. Carpenter. Mr. Olympio?
Congratulations, and just thank you for all you've done in the past and what you're going to be doing in the future. People come up to me and they nothing but great things to say about you, your energy, your attitude. We feel blessed to have you in the district, and I'm just going to enjoy watching the South School grow.
Thank you, Mr. Olympio. Mr. Amico?
Sullivan, just congratulations. You said it all, and you're so well respected, and those kids and parents and teachers are very lucky to have you.
Thank you, Mr. Amico. Mrs. Dunn?
I am really happy to meet you and to let you know that a lot of people contacted me and said they were thrilled about you becoming the principal, and I can tell why. You're so excited right now, and they are excited about you becoming principal, so you're right. It's going to be great. It is. It really is. Congratulations.
I think I'm going to steal that line. That's a good line. Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Mr. Hockman?
Thank you. Yeah, what a spectacular choice. I've had the pleasure of sitting on some committees with you over the last 8 or 10 years, and every committee that we've sat on together, you add tremendous value, and you not only just in the substance of the committee, but just in the attitude of the committee members. You have a wonderful disposition. You're fantastically prepared all the time. I have no doubt that we have an excellent choice in principal at the South School, and the kids there and the staff there will be well served for years to come.
Thank you, Mr. Hockman. Mr. Swanson?
Thank you. Mrs. Sullivan, congratulations. Obviously, I'm excited to be working with you going forward. And as you know, our introduction was through some of the committees. You bring a lot to those. As I'm doing school tours, I met with Dr. Haynes. I'll be honest with you, you have, like you said, you have huge shoes to, but he's got the utmost confidence in you. Everything he was showing about the school is, this is what Mrs. Sullivan does. This is what, so you're planted there, and you're going to continue success there. So congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, congratulations. All right, and we have one more new principal. So at the center school, Jackie Rafanos, another principal who we love and admire, who has done a phenomenal job, has announced her retirement. And again, we couldn't have thought of a better candidate. So Mr. Rafanos has been grooming an assistant principal who was a former ELL teacher and has taken on a leadership role, just finished her CAGs, and will probably enroll in a doctoral program soon. Recently, Sarah Almeida has taken over the interim principal job as Mr. Rafanos has been on leave and has taken on some extremely challenging cases with dignity and with grace and professionalism. She has gotten the resounding support of not only Ms. Rafanos, but for the faculty as a whole. She's done a wonderful job. I have the utmost confidence that she's going to do very well there. She's already proving it as the interim principal, and I'm very excited to announce Sarah Almeida as the Center Elementary School principal. So Sarah, please come on up.
Hi. Thank you very much. I'm honored and so excited to be the next principal of the Center Elementary School. As everyone has said, this year I've been inducted by fire and thrown in the role, and I have absolutely loved every moment of working there. I learned from one of the best, and I kind of copied what Jocelyn said. I'm a Peabody girl, went through the school system. My kids go here, so I'm glad to continue this and continue my tenure here at the Center School.
Well, thank you, Ms. Almeida, and I'm very fortunate, the same with Mrs. Sullivan. I've known you a long time, and couldn't think that these three positions could be, they were probably the easiest hires that probably we've ever made, and Dr. Vidala as a team. But really, I'm thrilled to have you in this position. Each of you and going to be able to make great impact on your students. You've already been doing that as principals. You really have an opportunity to make an impact on lives of our students and families. And we're thrilled that Peabody people who are part of our community want to continue to invest in our city. And I can't wait to see what you do at the Center School. So congratulations and welcome aboard. Looking forward to working with you even more. Thank you. Okay, let's open it up. Mrs. Dunn.
I just want to say congratulations, and I know that the school is in good hands because people have told me that they've enjoyed working with you and they're very proud of what you've done, stepping in and filling in and working hard to bring everybody along. That's a hard thing to do under the circumstances, and you've done a beautiful job. So Center School's a very, very special place, and I know you're going to do a great job there. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Swanson.
Thank you. Congratulations. I look forward to meeting with you, but I reiterate what Mrs. Dunn said, is that I heard great things about you. I look forward to working with you, and I think this school is going to be an awesome place with you being there. So congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Huckman.
Thank you. We do know each other. My children, all three of my children, attended the Center School and graduated from the Center School. You were there for part of those years. There already is a seamless transition. As wonderful as Ms. Rafanos is as a person and as a principal, she did groom you well, and she's expressed confidence in you throughout the time that you've been the assistant principal and even before. So I know that the Center School is going to carry on. Just promise me one thing, that the 5th grade boys and girls basketball at least beat the South, okay? If nobody else, at least beat the South. And in closing my remarks, I also want to point out and give credit to Dr. Vidala. You've clearly brought two extremely talented, extremely confident, and principals before us tonight, and I think that these are the first elementary school principals that you're hiring during your tenure as superintendent. And, yeah, last year is a blur. But in any event, great choices, and I commend you for bringing these two principals forward.
Thank you. Mr. Olympio.
Congratulations. I wish you all the best, and I certainly have heard high praise of the work that you've done at the center school. And I just want to thank you both for bringing such positive energy to the meeting. But I wish you all the best, and I know you're going to do great things at the center school. Thank you.
Mrs. Carpenter.
Thank you. Ms. Almeida, it's so nice to see you in this position. I've heard wonderful things about you, and I want to thank you for all the work that you've done. It's been a rough couple of years, and I do appreciate that. The center school is a special place, as it has been mentioned here before. My firstborn started at the center school, so I'm very familiar with the school, and I wish you the best, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Mrs. Carpenter. Mr. Amico.
Thank you. Congratulations. So well deserved. The center school is a special place. I'm going to share a quick funny story. The first time I walked into that building, 10 years ago, I was picking up my then daughter in kindergarten. It was raining out, and I was late, and I ran up to the front steps because I was late, and walked in and almost wiped out because the ceiling was leaking. So it doesn't leak any longer. I don't think it does. But you are a principal of a very challenged school building, but not staff or students. They're amazing people in there. You don't have a cafeteria, you don't really have a gymnasium, and you don't have an auditorium. Just like Jackie Rafanos before you, you're a true leader. The minute you were hired, my phone blew up because I live about a quarter of a mile from there, and everyone was just so excited. So we're excited. Congratulations, you're going to do a great job. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you to the committee. One thing I will say is we've talked a lot about building capacity from within and really growing our own. And we've had some great leadership meetings this year, which Ms. Almeida and Ms. Sullivan have really taken leadership roles on there. I want to thank the committee also. These two people took on full-time assistant principal roles this year, and that leadership that they took on this year has prepared them. It was an easy choice for both of these candidates, and it was partly because of the leadership that they were able to exhibit throughout the year in the roles that this committee supported. So I appreciate that, and I have nothing but confidence in Ms. Almeida and Ms. Sullivan. So thank you so much. It's going to be a great year. Okay, I'm not sure how we follow that, but we'll do our best. The next item is an exciting piece. Ms. Dunn and I spent some quality time last week getting together two School Building Authority Statement of Interest submissions, and we're really excited about these. We did enter in the center school for Priority 7, which is the replacement or addition of obsolete buildings in order to provide the full range of programs consistent with state and approved local requirements. So the center school, as we know, is ready for a new building. We did put that in, feel good about that submission. We took a little bit of extra time this year on the Peabody Veteran Memorial High School submission. And this year, I got to give credit to Mrs. Dunn for identifying Priority 3, which is the prevention of loss of accreditation. In addition to Priority 7, that the building is getting older and definitely needs to be addressed because it has some inadequate areas such as the science labs and things like that. But our NEASC report from 2020 also identified that the school would be on warning status until we can get into the core program. And that was a really astute it was astute to identify that priority. And when we wrote the submission this year, Ms. Dunn and I were able to craft some things, and they're included in your packet this year, but really targeting what the impact of that is for the NEASC report and that. And I feel really good about this submission, and I would like to give Mrs. Dunn the opportunity to make some comments on this. You've been through the process before, but I think this one feels different, and I'll let you speak to that as well.
Thank you, Dr. Vidala. I want to say it was fun to work with Dr. Vidala. We put our heads together, pulled this together, and on Priority 3, which is different than ever before, that is a completely new submission for Peabody Veterans Memorial High School. And this one, I know every year I say, we've got a really good chance, and, you know, you gotta buy, you can't win the lottery if you don't buy a lottery ticket. I've got those standard speeches. But I'm gonna be really honest with you. I feel really good about this request that we've submitted to the MSBA because it shows the serious nature of what's happening with that building. It has reached a point where repairs are just not going to let us give our students and our city the best possible high school education that we can give to them. We've repaired it, we've done everything we can to keep it going, but honestly, we we this. I was so excited. I sat there when Dr. Vidala pushed the button and it went off. And then we started getting the messages about, you know, the heat at the high school. It wasn't working. And then, you know, there were plumbing issues. So as we're writing this thing, there's more. You know, there's more that we can put in here. And I just hope MSBA will see that this time. We've been through this before, and we've gone into Boston where they have actually shown us photographs of schools that didn't get chosen. And how they choose is based on a huge number of different factors. But I really think that in these documents, we have some very, very telling items for the MSBA to look at and to be able to say, yes, Peabody does deserve to have a new high school. They need a new high school, and I'm hopeful that this is the one. So thank you. It was a great process, too. And with the center school we went through, and that was a very, very timely and well-written SOI, and we just updated to bring up, you know, new problems with the building. So those were current in there, too. But it's always an interesting process. And keep your fingers crossed and buy some lottery tickets.
Okay, thank you. So those statements of interest are in your packet, and we'll wait with bated breath for December of this year. Hopefully we'll hear great news, but we're speaking it into existence. So the next item is a little bit different. I put the item of special ed director. Our current special ed director, Carla Chioda, has accepted a position in another district, a very similar position that's a little bit closer to home. And so we want to thank publicly Ms. Chioda for her dedicated service in Peabody, for the great work that she's done here, and we do wish her the best. At this time, you know, I have talked a little bit individually to some committee members, spent a lot of time with our assistant director, Shannon Crompton, and again, I'd like to thank the committee for allowing us to have an assistant director position, which has really helped groom a candidate that I think is ready to take over and take on the role. So although Ms. Chioda is leaving a void, I would like to make a recommendation to this committee that Shannon Crompton, our current assistant director, be hired as the next special ed director for the district. So I'd like to call Shannon up and give you an opportunity to meet her and ask her any questions that you may have. But Shannon has my full confidence. I think that she is ready and she is able to do a very difficult job of special education director for the district.
There we go. So I have been here in Peabody going into 7 years. I have been a chairperson, the lead team chairperson, and now the assistant director, and I have to say that my heart is here in Peabody. Our students and our parents and our staff are amazing. I've worked with some families from kindergarten up to currently 6th grade making that transition, and parents are reaching out, and we're having those conversations about kiddos that were 5 years old, not ready for kindergarten. Parents were really nervous, and now we're talking the transition here to the middle school. So overall, being able to work with our families and our students and our amazing staff, we have grown an amazing special ed department that has come closer and closer together the years that I've been here. I would really like to continue working with them as the director.
Well, Mr. Crompton, welcome aboard. Congratulations. I've gotten to know you a little bit. I've seen you in action. Extremely professional, and I just saw a caring heart from you for our kids. And it's a difficult job, certainly you know that. Very challenging days ahead for you, but you have the opportunity to really make an impact, and you already are. So I'm very excited for you, very happy for you to be part of our team, and look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Olympio?
Welcome, and I really, actually, first, I would like to make a motion to follow the recommendation of the superintendent to appoint Ms. Crompton as Director of Special Education.
Second.
Further motion by Mr. Olympio, seconded by Mrs. Dunn. Roll call vote. Or actually, on the motion.
On the motion.
Mr. Olympio, thank you.
And if the vote goes the way I hope it will, I wish you all the luck. I've had first-hand experience with you as well, and you've just been wonderful. Dedication to the district has been really second to none, especially during these special trying times the last 2-3 years. And again, you've been here 7 years, and you've certainly put in the work and the effort, and I've heard nothing but good things. And again, I'm a little biased. I have first-hand experience with you, so I support this motion, and hopefully we'll be working together much longer.
Thank you, Mr. Olympio. Mrs. Dunn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome and congratulations. It's nice to meet you. And I will say I have heard good things about you as well as the other candidates for the principalships. And I'm glad to finally get to be able to say it to you that people have said very nice things throughout this past year about the work you had done as the assistant. And I'm going to put you on the spot. Okay. And we've all been in that position. We've all, worked in a job and said, well, if I was in charge, I'd do this. If I was in charge, I'd do that. So now you have that chance. And is there anything, have you even had a chance to think about some of the things that you might like to do as the head of special education for the city now?
I have thought about it. I think we're currently doing some of that work with our staff. I think we have a extremely strong support staff in this district. Our teachers care tremendously for our students. Our therapists are wonderful. And I think having a mission aligned with the district mission in our department to ensure that we're all on the same page and working for our families in the same way is one of the big things that I would like to do. Getting our staff across the district together monthly to really bring them all on the same page and work with them together. For our students, I'd like to continue our programs like our co-teaching models and inclusion, because all of our students deserve to be with their peers as much as possible. And that's something I really look forward to continuing moving on with through the district.
Okay. When you graduated from college, did you ever hope to become the head of a department?
I thought I would be a kindergarten teacher forever.
Oh my gosh.
And I walked into my first, I had taught in inclusion programming. I went to the inner city into a substantially separate kindergarten classroom to one old wooden chair from like way back when, and a box of blocks and a tattered cardboard box. And I spent 2 years fighting for my students for curriculum. And that was the moment that I kind of decided that I want to work with our families and our students and our staff and our districts to really give our kids what they deserve, no matter what they need.
Very good. That's great. Well, I think you're going to do very well.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Mr. Hockman.
Thank you. I'll say welcome, Ms. Crompton, because everyone else has. There is a process, and this is supposed to be an interview of some sorts, but it seems like the hand's been tipped to some degree. I know you a little bit. I had the honor of sitting on the search committee that yielded Ms. Chioda as our special ed director, and you applied for that position and interviewed extremely well. I will say it was a difficult decision. And when Dr. Vidala came to us as a committee seeking to create an assistant, or to reinstate, I should say, an assistant director position for the special education department, and he had you in mind for that position, it was an easy choice for me to vote to approve the expenditure that we added to our budget. I'm not always a big fan of adding administrators, but knowing that you were the person that was going to fill that seat, it was a much easier choice for me. I know that you're extremely talented. I know that you're well liked among your peers. I know that students react positively to you, parents feel comfortable to you. You're taking on a bigger role now than you've ever taken on. I think you're prepared for it, but there are going to be some changes. So I'm going to ask you a question because this is an interview. So I will ask you, what is it that 3 years ago or 2.5 years ago when you interviewed for this position, between then and now, what have you learned? How have you grown? How do you feel as if you're better prepared to take on this role?
Sure. So I think I have grown a lot. I have had my hands, especially this year in our budgeting, in our circuit breaker. I have really worked with our principals, where prior to, I had only had exposure to working with some of our principals throughout the district. I have worked with every principal. As of right now, I have serviced our students from age 3 all the way to our post-secondary in the format as a chairperson or as an administrator assisting our chair people. So I think my exposure to the amount of students we have and the breadth of our programming, I have had much more experience with. Definitely management of staff. So prior to taking the assistant director role, I was lead team chair. I was overseeing our paperwork, but not really managing staff. This year has changed that, where I'm evaluating administrators, evaluating teachers, our support staff. I work hand in hand with our clerical staff on a daily basis, which wasn't really what was happening prior. And really looking at our programming in the district and really trying to make changes in a positive way that we feel will benefit our students has been a real focus for the last year.
Well, I love to hear what you're saying, because what you've learned in this time as an assistant has exceeded what I expected to hear from you. So I'm happy that you have had such a positive experience as an assistant director, and I think you're going to carry that well with you as the director. I will just give you one bit of advice, and I don't know why, but I will. Just walk in softly. You have a bunch of talented people in your department who are staying here, and I think there might be some new people coming into your department who are talented as well. And you also have a department that we've talked about it before. I think Ms. Carpenter talked about it. There are a lot of Peabody people in your department. There are a lot of people with a lot of time in this district, including you, who handle themselves well. Give them the opportunity to continue that and to continue to grow as the individuals that they are.
Thank you, Mr. Hockman. Any other questions of Ms. Crompton? Mrs. Carpenter?
Thank you. Welcome, Ms. Crompton. It's nice to see you. Should this vote go your way tonight, I'm not sure it's going to go. I just want to say that the position that you're taking has evolved into something that is immensely so different than it was 3 years ago. The challenges that I think that you're going to face and the different things that you're going to see in this position, I think you'll be well suited for, based on some of the answers that you gave Mrs. Dunn about where you came from and where you're going, and the compassion, the understanding of how COVID has evolved and blended itself into the special education department is very important. And some of the things that Mr. Hockman had mentioned with just kind of the history of the people that you're working with and who you're around is so valuable. So I just want to say possibly welcome, and I look forward to maybe working with you. And if you ever want to reach out, we're all happy to talk to you at any time. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Yes, I welcomed her and congratulated with her before we actually interviewed her. So that was well done by me. We do have a motion made by Mr. Olympio that was seconded by Mrs. Dunn. Any final comments or questions before we go to a roll call vote? Okay, seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
Mr. Hockman?
Yes.
Mr. Swanson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I look forward to working with all of you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
can we take a 2-minute recess?
2-minute break, please. All right, I'd like to call the meeting back to order. Terrific, and I'd like to turn it back over. I think we have one remaining item on Superintendent's report, Dr. Vidala.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the last item is superintendent's evaluation. So it's that time of year again. So I put this slide up just to sort of review our mission of hope, and then how it fits in with the strategic plan that we have. So I did provide the committee with a little bit of information on each of the 4 standards, but this is really how we develop our district goals. 1 goal for building a community, 1 goal for equity and access, and really the 7 pillars that we had underneath that. So just a little overview of our professional practice goal, which is building a community. Some of the things that we've implemented this year or continued this year is thinking about the goal of effective communication. Having that monthly newsletter, Tell Me Something Good, has really infused a little bit of positivity this year. We use our district-wide email and phone call systems to get messages out. Really trying to lean a lot on the principals to be the direct contact for school-based things, and then really working this year to have some positive media relations and getting out some really good positive stories about the schools and some of the wonderful things. One thing we've really focused on this year is collaborative relationships. First, we developed a common prep time for elementary teachers where all the first grade teachers across the district all have the same prep, all the second grade teachers have the same prep, and so that way they can use some of the virtual communications to be collaborative across the schools. That was something that we were very excited about. We're having our regular meetings with the unions to enhance two-way communication, and that has really helped us to really address things in real time, especially, you know, as COVID protocols have changed over time and we've had to pivot. It's been nice to be able to have those regular meetings to get you know, back in to meet with them. Having the student advisory board come to the school committee this year on a more regular basis has been great. Getting those parent advisory boards back up and running with our PTOs. We're very excited to welcome people back for our end of the year activities that we'll be having very soon. Community partnerships is something we're very proud of, really trying to develop strong partnerships. We've developed a nice little relationship with the Peabody Library. We go there once a month for our assistant principal meeting. We're working with them around our summer reading program. So Dr. Chase has worked very closely with them around providing some of the titles that we have, whether it's electronically or in print. We have our new relationship with the Bar Foundation and the work that we're doing at the high school. Peabody Education Foundation continues to support our schools and sort of pivot the way that they support us, having a more broader impact across the district, which has been very helpful, especially their mental health initiative. Our partnership with FKO has grown over time. The YMCA has been wonderful. Just recently, they've worked with our grade 2 students on a swimming program, so we'll be bringing some information about that to a meeting soon. Healthy Peabody Collaborative has been a pillar of support as well. Dr. Lord has been sitting on the Rotary and the Chamber of Commerce, which has really opened up some more community partners, and especially with local businesses and internships for our kids. We've worked more with the Peabody Health Department in the past 2 years, I think, than we ever have. We have our relationships with Merrimack, Endicott, and Salem State to bring in student teachers and teacher fellows into the district. And of course, Peabody TV has really expanded their offerings and their support. So a lot of efforts being done with the community partners, and I think we've seen that through the pandemic, we need everybody, and Peabody really has stepped up. Our student learning goal around equity and access in curriculum, instruction, and assessment. We have our shared vision of hope, which is high expectations, optimism, personalized learning, and then we have, of course, equity and access, and also that E will stand for excellence for all. So moving forward, we'll be thinking about really promoting excellence for everyone. So we've developed our one-to-one Chromebook initiative. We've got the Promethean boards in all elementary classrooms. That second round is being delivered now. So that has been very helpful. The Higgins has adopted the new assessment platform, and of course our HQIM, the high quality instructional materials for our new ELA curriculum that Dr. Chase has been running and bringing that information to you. So we're really doing a lot of work with our curriculum and think that our students are really geared up to be successful, not only in their classes, on state assessments, but also for college and career. This year, we've spent a little bit of time on student and staff support. We've increased the number of staff members that we have in the special education department, our ELL departments. We're currently expanding, and of course, counseling. The committee's been extremely supportive of additional guidance counselors, school adjustment counselors, BCBAs, school psychologists, so that has really been helpful. Our partnership with Renaissance has gotten some more online personalized learning resources such as Freckle and Mayon for our kids to be working at home now that they have the Chromebooks. And of course, the virtual school has supported our staff and our students that maybe, haven't been able to have access to in-person learning. They've really developed a great program there with Peabody Prep. And then finally, social emotional learning is our final of the 6 pillars for our strategic plan. And this year, the mental health initiative from Peabody Education Foundation has really been exceptional. We have the SEL libraries in all the elementary schools that were provided through a grant, as well as our speaker series, having Rob Surrett come in to all the elementary schools, and then Norm Bossio came to the high school. Great support from that. And on May 31st, we'll have Rob Surrett coming here to the Higgins, and I would definitely invite any member of the school committee that could come. It's really a great performance. Our C-list data, so we've really done some work through a grant that Dr. Lord got around SEL to survey our students to see where they're at, get some baseline data, provide some support for them, and then really see how the students are responding about how they feel about themselves and their social emotional learning. And then just making sure that our staff and our students have access to the psychologists, the BCBAs, and the guidance and school adjustment counselors that have been put in. So really trying to do a lot of work in these areas. Of course, there's always room to grow, but we've done a lot of things. Despite the pandemic, I feel like our staff has really stepped up and supported our students. So doing a lot of good things, and I expect a lot of good things to come. We had obviously a very positive meeting tonight with some of the new hires that are really exciting, and we hope to see that in the future as well. So I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions on the superintendent's evaluation or any of the items on the report? Mr. Hockman.
Yeah, no, thank you. I just want to make clear, we as a school committee will be evaluating the superintendent. You've asked, Mr. Mayor, you've asked for us to do that within the next 2 weeks and to submit those evaluations to you. So hopefully in 2 weeks you'll have the evaluations, and in 2 meetings probably, because you'll have to process those and put them in some sort of form. In 2 meetings from now, I expect that we'll have a public evaluation of Superintendent Vidala.
Thank you. That's the plan. Thank you. Any questions on that? I would like to move forward and take this on in a timely manner. So I think 2 weeks, that should be appropriate time for everybody. So that'd be great if we can get those to me before the next meeting, and then we can take the next steps. Mrs. Dunn?
And I will send out to everyone for their information a document from MASC that can help with the superintendent's evaluation. It gives some insight into the process and some guidance on how to conduct a good evaluation. So I'll send that out today.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Okay, thank you, Dr. Vidala, for that report. Next is public participation. Anyone in the audience who would like to come forward today? Oh, please, come on up, Karen or Ms. Mayo.
And if there's anyone online, please raise your hand and we will get to you after Ms. Mayo.
Karen Mayo, 61 Harrison Ave. I have a question. I'd like to know on our bus routes, what's the mileage that the kids have to live away? I think, if I remember correctly, it's 4 miles. And then they go on a bus. I'm not sure. I know you can't answer it now. You can check it and let me know. But I'm going to ask everybody here, have you ever walked 4 miles to school? It takes anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half. Even if it's 2 miles, cut it in half. Are you going to ask students to walk to school for that length of time, which means they need to get up earlier, they need to eat, oh, maybe eat, or maybe they can get to school to have breakfast. The busing fees were put in with the sunset clause originally, years ago, and I'm not even going to count how many. And it's been constantly said we didn't have the money to get the kids back on the buses. I'm sorry, if you can't get kids to school, You can't teach them. I have not heard, I would say in the past at least 4 years during a budget session, busing being brought back up except to increase fees or to still charge the parents. I'm sorry, I think it's wrong. We need kids in school to teach them. They're late getting to school. Not every parent can drive their kids to school. That needs to be known. But when this all came about years ago, it wasn't supposed to be for this long. You're telling me your job is to educate students. My other question is, can you educate them if they're not there? So I would like to see something in writing of exactly what the mileage is for all grades. I know from K to 6, I think you have to do it. It's mandated by the state. I think 7 to 12, it's not. But I think we still do the 7 to 12. But you're still charging. This shouldn't be a fee for a kid to have to go to school. And that's what it is. It's a fee to go to school. I thought we were public education, free. I was hoping this would go away at some point, hopefully before I retire. So you have probably at least another 10 years, maybe. So if you could get it done before I do that in a new high school, I'd really appreciate it. So there's two jobs for you to do, Dr. Vidal, before I retire. How's that? Thank you.
Okay, do we have anybody else in, that would like
We
to
do. We
propose?
have, Michelle has her hand raised, so Michelle, please state your name and address for the committee, and you may speak.
Michelle Baker, 13 Sunset Drive.
Thank you, Michelle. Go ahead.
There's been a lot of discussion on Facebook about the high school, and I just want to point out that everything cannot be blamed on the principal. He is probably the most responsive person I've dealt with in the entire school district. He has a very open door policy. He's very open and honest about a lot of things. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions about some things that have been online. I've had a great experience, and maybe that's, just me. But part of the problem is the things that go on in the classroom. And I've been told by teachers directly that they're afraid to report kids who are disruptive and inappropriate to anybody. And they're really just doing these kids a disservice. That's not how the real world works. And when they leave the high school, that's going to be a big problem for them. Not to mention the other kids whose learning is interrupted on a constant basis. And I think a part of solving that and the, violence in the classroom as well, I think we should propose to the teachers union that we have cameras in the classrooms. And it should be something that only the superintendent and the principal and law enforcement, if needed, is able to view, no other staff, and that it needs to be deleted in 60 to 90 days. Everybody is on camera everywhere you go nowadays. There's cameras on in the hallways at the high school. So it really shouldn't be any different than it is now. If the teacher's doing their job, they have nothing to worry about. They have everything in the world to back them up because the camera's not going to lie. So that's just what I wanted to say, and I'm sure the people on Facebook would like to hear from the school committee a lot of their thoughts on this.
Okay, thank you. That is all the hands that we have raised, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Dr. Vidal. We'll now go to written communications. We do have two. The MSBA Statement of Interest for the Peabody Veterans Memorial High School and the MSBA Statement of Interest for the Center School. We just moved to receive those. Mr. Hockman?
So moved.
Further motion to receive those two written communications, seconded by Mr. Swanson. All in favor of receipt? It's a
Aye.
unanimous vote. Thank you. Subcommittee reports. Education Subcommittee. Mr. Amico.
Thank you, through the mayor, to the committee. Before I pass on to Mr. Hockman and Dr. Chase, I wanted to ask the superintendent a couple of things about two of the more entertaining and two of our favorite events that we go to every year. One of them being Convocation, and the other one being the George Peabody Medal recipients that we have at the library in the Sutton Room, I believe. Are we able, through the chair, are we able to have those two? And if we can we get a report back on those, please?
Yeah, so Convocation is scheduled. We are expecting to invite, all the people that were invited previously. We don't have restrictions on that anymore, so we're looking forward to that. That is Thursday, June 2nd at 6 p.m. And again, everyone is invited, so those invitations will be going out. I will double check with the library if we have a date for the George Peabody Medal. So, yes, that's something that we'll look into. Yes, yes, we'll work with the trustees to see if that's able to be done again.
And at this point, I believe Mr. Hockman and Dr. Chase do have a report as well on this.
Thank you, Mr. Amico. Through the chair to Dr. Chase, because it's really her. I just wanted an update to see where we keep this moving along. So, Dr. Chase, if you have anything to provide to us.
Thank you. So over the past couple of weeks since we last met and talked about the Holocaust genocide studies and the requirement from the state, Ms. Emily Moore has been working with teachers in grades 6 through 12. We wanted to get a current understanding of what the landscape was right now. And so she's worked with teachers in grades 6 through 12 to identify specific points in the curriculum where Holocaust genocide studies are already included. But I think it's also important to realize that we're not just looking to check a box and look at compliance, but rather what are the connections grade level to grade level and how do we build students' knowledge. So now that we have this inventory of what currently exists, over the next few weeks we'll take a look at how do we create a through line so that from 6 through 12 students are building upon their knowledge. I also just received a video today from Harvard University where they have worked collaboratively with Facing History and ourselves in a school in Texas and created this collaborative video where a teacher interviews her students about what their knowledge is currently for Holocaust studies, and a simple question such as, can you name one of the concentration camps, is met with each student saying they're unable to do so. So it's really a video to talk about what the current state is across the nation and the need for this type of education in our classrooms. So we'll be looking at that video as well as a conversation piece and starting point.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Dr. Chase, for that update. And I was actually a little horrified when you told me that story about the video out of Texas, but I'm not surprised because I think it's probably an accurate reflection of the lack of knowledge that exists not only among school-age children, but among adults, and we talked about that a little bit. I just wanted to follow up with you to, again, it's my hope that the curriculum is developed and designed not only for the teaching of horrific events that have occurred, but with a focus on empathy, right? The goal here is to eradicate hate. It's important to teach about history and teach about events that occurred so that we can learn from them and hopefully they don't ever reappear. But it's to make our students better people. It's to make our educators better people, and eradicating hate is a big step along that way.
Thank you. That's a great point. Many years ago, I taught Facing History and ourselves to 9th graders, and one of the initial lessons that you use with the kids is an identity lesson where students start to identify what groups do they belong to, who are they as individuals, and then you take that conversation from where students start and what they know really well themselves, their families, their friend groups, and so on, and then you build on that and you start to talk about, so what is it about being a bystander? When is it difficult to stand up for ourselves? when is it difficult to stand up for others, and how do ordinary people either make the world a better place or contribute to it not being as good of a place as it should be. So really starting with what kids are interested in themselves, their peer groups, their families, and so on, and then building upon that, and that empathy piece is a huge part of it.
Not to belabor this, Mayor, but we had a woman who lived in Peabody who was a Holocaust survivor named Sonia Weitz, who came to talk to our students up until her passing. I mean, she really was a wonderful, wonderful, warm, caring woman. And she used the term upstander, and you reminded me by saying bystander. And we used to have, and I don't know if we still do, the Holocaust Center of the North Shore would issue upstander awards to teens who would display behavior where they pointed out, bullies perhaps, or stood up for someone that needed help in a certain situation. It wasn't related to a genocide. It was related to day-to-day life and things that our students do, and recognizing them for doing that. And they would get this upstander award, and that may be nice to reintroduce into Peabody culture again. It was a nice way of recognizing students for not being bystanders, right? Not simply allowing things to happen because they were happening, but to stand up for themselves and their peers, and adults even in some instances, and call people out for acting inappropriately. Just a thought.
Thank you, Mr. Stockman. Thank you, Dr. Chase. Anything to add, Mr. Miko? All set. Okay, Finance Subcommittee. Mr. Olympio?
Nothing new to report.
Okay. School Safety. Mr. Olympio?
We met earlier today.
Okay. Athletics and Wellness.
Nothing
Mr.
to report.
Okay. Quality and Standards, Mrs. Dunn.
Nothing to report tonight.
Parent and Student Advisory Boards.
The training for our Student Advisory Board and other student leaders will take place this Saturday at Essex North Shore. The students have all been invited, and I sent a follow-up email today to make sure they know that they just need to let us know they're attending, but it should be a really, really good presentation for them. It's being put on by MASC, but also in conjunction with a new group of students that is just starting out. It's the Massachusetts Association of Student School Representatives, and they are seeking recognition of their group. So they are actually a big part of the training and of the encouragement for our student leaders. So I'm hopeful that many of the high school student leaders, not necessarily only from the Student Advisory Board, but from Student Council and any of the leadership positions up there, that they will attend. It starts at 8:30.
Okay, Building and Grounds.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of items under this subcommittee. First one being building maintenance. I know that we've had there have been some issues with regard to some maintenance in some buildings, and I'm happy to report that one of the issues, which was the gutters at the Brown Elementary School, were cleaned out today, and I want to thank the Forestry Department and I think Parks and Rec Department might have helped a little with that, and I wanted to thank some folks that brought it to my attention about the issue, and I'm happy to report that that's been resolved. I also am happy, I think the mayor reported at our last meeting that there were a lot of work done with lighting at the high school, so I wanted to thank him and those involved with doing that for getting that done. I did hear today, and if we can perhaps check on it, this Friday is senior night for the baseball team, and they were hoping to play a game under the lights. If we can just check to make sure that we're all okay for that, that would be appreciated. Next item I think I have, unless anyone else has something to add to maintenance. Building elementary school playgrounds. We brought this up through the subcommittee about 6 months ago, and Mr. Scanlon was kind enough to do a survey around the elementary schools, and I think a few of them came back needing some work. So if Dr. Vidala might have an update on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So worked very closely with Jen Davis in the Parks Department. The first one that we identified was the Carroll School, which just had some minor repairs that needed to be done, and pleased to report they did that very quickly. And so the Carroll School is online and ready to go. The bigger one was there's 2 small playgrounds at the McCarthy School, one for the integrated preschool and one for the elementary school, and that was pretty much lacking, and people realized that, you know, that's really needed a big upgrade. So I thank the mayor and Jen at the Parks Department. They've really worked closely with Principal Zatoli and a team of parents and teachers that she has, and they have full plans for a brand new playground. It's really impressive. It's ADA compliant for the integrated preschool students. There's a small, you know, sort of like a tot lot type structure for the pre-K 3 through maybe 5 to 6 years old, and then there's a bigger structure. So they have the plans. They're ready to move forward with that, and we're hoping to have that done for the summer. So really, you know, I mean, this is a lot of work went into this, but pleased to report that they have the full plans, color photos, and everything. So I'll get a copy of what Mr. Tolley has, and I'll send it along to the committee.
Thank you, Dr. Vidala. Through the mayor to you. With regard to the Carroll School, was there, my recollection is that there was some issue with the flooring, right, the padding, or do we have an update on that?
I can look into that. I believe it was just minor repairs across the board. You know, some things on the structure as well as some of the flooring that they were able to address. But I'll work with Principal Smith and make sure that they have everything that they need.
Thank you, Dr. Vidala. The next issue that I have on the agenda is the Kiley School. About a month ago or so, we met at the administration building as a subcommittee. The mayor was present, facilities director was present, the ward councilor was present, superintendent, assistant superintendent, I think were present, business manager, myself, Mr. Amico, and Mr. Swanson were present. And we talked about the Kiley School and uses for that school, and pricing out what it would cost the district if we were to do something to that school, other than let it continue to deteriorate. Mr. Hafey asked us to identify the use for the building before he was able to price out or provide us with an estimate for costs for the work to be done. So as a follow-up to that, the Building and Ground Subcommittee met last week, 2 weeks ago, excuse me, to discuss this issue. And after much discussion, after talking about a lot of the new construction that is potentially in the pipeline for the city, whether they're through 40B applications that are presently before the ZBA or have already been through the ZBA, and other just construction that takes place in the city, there's the potential for close to 1,000 apartments to be built in the city of Peabody in the next couple of years. Looking at what our elementary schools already look like, it would be hard to fathom adding, and I don't think all of those apartments would have school-age children residing in them, but it would be hard to fathom our elementary schools absorbing too many more students at this point. So the subcommittee talked about various uses for the building, and the recommendation coming out of the Building and Ground Subcommittee for use at the Kiley site would be for a preschool and kindergarten academy for the district, relieving each of the elementary schools with kindergarten classrooms to add space for what we perceive to be an influx of students through these new apartments, as well as the 3 schools that currently house preschool classrooms, the McCarthy, the West, and the South, so that they would also receive some relief from particularly the McCarthy, since many of these units, these apartment units, would be in and around the McCarthy School area. So it would potentially give relief to the McCarthy to allow for some of those first grade through fifth grade students to enter that school. So with that, I won't make a motion yet. I can tell you the recommendation of the committee is to the preschool and kindergarten academy, and I'll open up to the committee to either identify what uses you'd like to see there or for pricing. At this point, it's really just for Mr. Hayfie to provide us with estimates so that we would have a better idea as to what we're looking at in terms of costs. If the committee prefers to table this and put this on our agenda in 2 weeks, I'm happy to do that as well, whatever your will is.
Thank you, Mr. Hockman, for that summary. Just to add to that and give my point of view, a few years ago there was certainly a lot of discussion and a lot of people were reaching out to us in terms of the future of the Kiley School, and it's certainly been a topic now for a few years. At the time, there was a real thought to selling that property, bringing some money into the school department that way, and utilizing that money for a number of projects that are certainly always needed for us annually. I think we made the right decision in not moving forward with the sale of that property. There was certainly strong feelings either way about keeping it for the long term or selling it and taking the money. I think we as a city and we as a group made the appropriate decision in thinking long term to not go ahead and sell that property. I think that was the correct decision, and has put us in a position to figure out what is the best use for that property, for that building in the long term. I think it would have been short-sighted to sell that property, and I believe we made the right decision. Certainly what the best use is for that, that's going to be a discussion that we take together. I think, as Mr. Hockman outlined, I think a very good proposal is on the table for further discussion and certainly to research to determine the best. I think it would solve a number of concerns for us, certainly some overcrowding at some of the school that would alleviate some of that. And as Mr. Hockman mentioned, there is going to be likely a great deal of apartments built over the next few years. What that final number will be, it's hard to say right now, but there are a number of projects that are at different levels in the 40B process. We are now over our 10%. So we are in a much stronger position as a community. However, there are a number of projects that are really across the city, whether Ward 3, Ward 4, Ward 5, that are already in the pipeline that are going to affect our city and our school district and certainly bring more students to us. So holding on to the Kiley was the right decision. The last couple of years have been difficult to do some long-term planning, but now we need to do that. I appreciate Mr. Hockman's leadership, along with Mr. Amico, Mr. Swanson. I did want to mention Dave Gamache, our Ward 5 counselor, who's been at the meetings as well and has certainly been advocating to move forward. It's going to be a big project for us in terms of finances. And we did it a few years ago. We did kind of do an assessment or an analysis of the cost for that, and they were significant then and have only gone up since because of lead times and cost of materials and supplies and all of that have certainly gone up. But I do think the right decision we made as a committee, as a city, as a district, and holding on to that building, and now it's important for us to make the right decision. And I think what's been proposed is very worthy of discussion and very worthy of maybe the final vote. I know that has to be worked out in the future, but this was the appropriate decision, and I think this could be a great thing for our city and really help all of our school districts, our school district and all of our elementary schools. So a lot of work ahead of us, but this was the right decision, and happy to answer any questions. I think the next step, Mr. Hockman, and you and I briefly talked offline, if we needed a vote to go ahead and ask Mr. Hayfie to do some pricing on that school, and I would encourage that as the next step, maybe to formalize that as the next step. But I think this will be discussion we have probably for the greater part of this year, and a big decision will have to be made very shortly. I'll go to Mr. Amico as a committee member, then I'll go to you, Mrs. Dunn.
Great, thank you through the chair of the committee, and thank you, Mr. Hockman, for your work on this. I agree. I think we should get Mr. Hayfie involved and look at some pricing. And one of the things that we spoke about at the meeting, at one of the meetings, was how big do we want to obviously build this? And maybe we can get different pricing for different square footage, whether it's 1-story or 2-story, or, you know, what are we actually looking to build? And then we can maybe have options from there, from what pricing is, because pricing is going to be a very big part of it, obviously. So if we have 1 or 2 or 3 different scenarios, then we can go back and say, okay, we want to move our pre-K there, or our kindergarten there, or maybe even bring in an outside group that may want to rent some space as well. So I think if we have different options on square footage and maybe sizes and dimensions, we can maybe work together and decide what is best for our kids in our city.
Thank you, Mr. Miko. Mrs. Dunn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to the Building and Grounds Subcommittee for the discussion that you've held on this about the Kylie. I'm very, very happy to hear what you're saying. We know that there is going to be a push in the next few years for universal preschool, which is going to be a huge additional amount of classroom space which we would need here in our schools. We know that the population is growing at the elementary school level, and keeping the Kylie, I've always said that was the smartest thing to do, because we need, land is becoming scarce for school buildings, truthfully. And having that school, that's a nice little school. It's a shame that it is in the condition that it is in, although I will say they do have good windows. But I think that we should look into repairing it and being able to use it again. It's a great layout for a school, and especially for preschool. And I would suggest that we also look, many teachers have brought this up over the years, and I saw the benefits of it myself through our family. We used to have programs where we had kindergarten and then we had a K-1 program. And it was for kids, little ones who were kind of in between. They weren't quite ready for kindergarten, but they were too advanced for, I'm sorry, they weren't ready for first grade, but they were okay for kindergarten. It was an interim, and we did away with that. And if you talk to elementary school teachers, they will tell you, you need that. It's a great way of being able to help students to succeed. And we did away with it because of space considerations. So I think that all around, bringing the Kylie back online would be a very wise thing to do. This is the time to start talking about it too, because we know already about the length of time that construction can take, the lead time on ordering pieces that you need to renovate buildings is huge right now. And I would like to say that I agree. I do think we should ask Mr. Hafey to do that preliminary evaluation and look at that building so that we could get back in there and utilize it. It's a good building. It's good space. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Mr. Olympio?
Through the chair, and thank you to the Buildings and Grounds Subcommittee for your research and your work, and Mr. Mayor as well. Yeah, I'm very excited to start the process, and let's try to get some numbers together, and it's just all good stuff. So I fully behind us starting to take that next step and try to get things moving as soon as we can. And yeah, I'm glad that we've hung on to the building as well, and certainly looking at the numbers and the price and will be the next logical step. And I think that's I look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Olympio. Okay, Mr. Ackman?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just before we close out the conversation on the Kylie, is the committee prepared to take a vote to request that Jim Hafey put an estimate together? I'm getting a lot of head nods, so I'll make the motion. With the recommendation of the Building and Grounds Subcommittee, I move that we ask Jim Hafey to provide us with an estimate for the cost of, I think, 2 costs. One for a renovation of the building and one for a tear down, which I think is really more of what we're looking at with the condition of the property, for the purpose of using the building as a kindergarten, preschool and kindergarten academy. So moved.
Thank you. I agree, just on that motion, just to add to it, I think those options, we should look at all those options, so. Motion made by Mr. Hockman, thank you for that. Mr. Swanson seconded that motion. On the motion, roll call, please.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
Mr. Hockman?
Yes.
Mr. Swanson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, last portion of my report is an update on the administration building, and we've talked about it in the past. I want to thank the mayor again for negotiating successfully an extension on the lease for an additional year. So I was just hoping to do two things tonight with regard to this subject. One is to actually get an update on what has developed since we last talked about this, and two, to throw out there, the Kylie project that we just talked about is probably a project that's going to be, the financing of it is going to be borne exclusively by the city. We have statements of interest already in with the MSBA for the high school and the center school, and I think that those are, I think we all think that those are extremely important, and I'm not that optimistic where I think we're going to get 3 projects going this quickly through the MSBA. Wherever we decide to put the administration next, if it's going to be in a school building where we need to build space, and I think that there was some hope and conversation about perhaps the high school, when the MSBA approves the terrific statement of interest that Ms. Dunn participated in drafting. If there was going to be space in that building for the administration, that portion of the construction would be borne by the city anyway. The MSBA, I don't believe, will contribute in the funding for administration space. So one of my thoughts was, if we're going to have the conversation about the Kylie, if perhaps Mr. Hafey could, in addition to providing us with estimates for the use that we've identified for preschool and kindergarten academy, pre-K and kindergarten academy, if perhaps he can add to that some administrative space, whether it be a 3rd floor or a wing, not inefficient use of the space as had previously been used at the Kylie after it stopped being an elementary school, but efficient modern space, new construction type of space where appropriate square footage for offices and privacy issues would be able to, be constructed. So those are just my thoughts, and I will hand it over to Dr. Vidala to provide us with an update, and thank you, Dr. Vidala.
So an update on the current administration building? So we're at 27 Lowell Street. I think we'll be there for, I think the mayor, at least 2 more years. We have a 1+1. You are correct about the MSBA would not fund additional space. If we were at the high school, we could use a portion of the existing building, and then the addition that MSBA would fund would be separate from that. So there are areas that you could put central administration if we do get into the new high school. I think that's a longer-term plan. So we'll definitely be working together on that. In the short term, I think 27 Lowell Street is where we'll be for the next definitely year, potentially 2, perhaps more.
Great, and just to add to that, Mr. Hockman, and I do want to take a step back, because I do believe that locating school administration out of the Kylie School at the time was the appropriate decision to move them over to the current location at 27 Lowell Street. I thought it was a good decision for a number of reasons. One, I really believe the Kylie School was not in a very safe condition at the time, and it was the appropriate thing to move towards a more professional office until we come up with the long-range plan for the Kylie that we are going to be doing. Selfishly, I was appreciative of the fact that we moved the location to the downtown area. I thought there was a lot of benefit to doing that as we're trying to build up our downtown. And it makes some sense to have the relationship across the street with City Hall. I know that's helped in some circles. But I always felt that it was a short-term decision. Certainly, it's tight space over there. for the number of school administrators we have, and I know that's made things a little difficult. So I've always felt that that location is short-term. We do have two-year options on that lease. We were able to negotiate those into basically 4 one-year options. So we have, I believe, 4 additional years in order to use that. But when the right circumstance, whether it be at the Kiley School or whether it be a new high school or whatever the case may be, which I certainly believe makes sense, is to have school administration maybe attached to a school or a part of a school environment. I'd be all for that and ready to make that move. But we do have this ability to utilize this space, at least for the foreseeable future, until we come up with a long-term decision. But that building is tight. I think school administration needs more space. And I do think it was a good decision at the time, but it was always a short-term decision until we could come up with a better plan moving forward. So I think a lot of these are interrelated, the Kiley School, the high school discussion, 27 Lowell Street, and the future of school administration. I think it's all connected, and I definitely think that Mr. Hafey and his work that he's going to do with his consultants should factor that in as potential school administration space. On that, Mr. Miko? Anybody else on that topic wanted to, Mrs. Dunn?
I actually want to tell you, Mr. Mayor, when you had originally suggested moving the school administration offices downtown, I disagreed. And I want to admit that I've seen that it really has, in my mind, it has been beneficial because of the way that people have been able to come down. I know one of the considerations was if they were registering for school, they could just go over to City Hall, get, the birth certificates or the documentation that they needed, and then go across the street to administration. It's an easy to find spot because you just say it's right across the street from City Hall. And I thought it was really, really good to help bring more activity downtown. So I can understand, both sides of having administration in a school, but also having administration downtown. And I hope we can find an economical solution with the appropriate space for everyone and be able to follow through on it. But I think right now, we have to continue the way we have things presently until we can find out about the Kiley and also about other school sections. But I would admit I was wrong.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Any other comments on that item? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, go ahead, Mrs. Dunn. You can.
It's a little off, but you know something? The last time we had an actual study of the schools with an actual plan, and we know this because we have to refer to it consistently in our SOIs to the MSBA. We refer to a document known as the Rosenfeld Study from 1998. And I think we need to get another one done. That Rosenfeld Study doesn't even address the current Brown, the current Carroll, the Higgins, because it was written before those schools ever came online. It's accurate for the Kiley in the high school, but we've had a lot of changes in those years. In 1998, it doesn't sound that long ago, but anyone born in 1998 is getting ready to celebrate reunions from college. So it is a long time, and that's what we rely on when we have to provide information about our schools and our capital plan. It's very out of date, and I think we need to figure out when we can do another one. That's a much more extensive thing compared to a feasibility study that Mr. Hafey is going to take a look at the Kiley. But I'm going to put it out there. We need to think about that.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Mr. Hockman?
Just in closing, Ms. Dunn, please pass that along to me, and we'll be happy to put it on an agenda for a meeting in our near future.
Sorry. Mr. Miko, you had another
Through the
topic.
chair.
Yep.
Thank you. I just wanted to add one other thing to the building and grounds. I got notification earlier today that there was a major cleanup at the Carroll School playground on April 23rd. This event was a collaboration of the PPAO, the Escuela Portuguesa de Peabody, and PCU Lodge 10 of Peabody, and they sent over some pictures, and it was a great mix of adults and kids just getting together and really cleaning up. So I just want to thank, on behalf of the school committee, thank that group for doing that. And I know the mayor spearheaded a really large group down at City Hall on April 30th, I believe, and we had our citywide cleanup, and a lot of those kids ended up at schools cleaning up in our parks. So Mayor, I want to thank you for doing that. We had a lot of great high school kids, volunteers, administrators, teachers. We had a huge group, and everyone had fun, and so thank you for doing that as well.
Thank you. I almost forgot. I'm glad you brought that up, Mr. Amico, because I wanted to recognize and give a shout out and thanks to a number of our student athletes and coaches that came to our Pride in Peabody Cleanup Day. We were able to cover a lot of ground. The city got messy as it does after every winter, and I feel like it's been windy for the last 3 years. Every day it's a windstorm of some sort, and that causes some havoc on our trash pickup. But we had, I don't know what the number would be, but it had to be over 100 student athletes from our baseball team, Coach Betancourt, our softball team, Coach Palmieri, our lacrosse team, Coach Roach, and our track team, Coach Brother. There was a number of coaches there, but we had a tremendous turnout from our student athletes, and then adding that to our elected officials and to our citizens and some Boy Scout troops, Girl Scout troops that came, we were able to really cover a lot of ground and do a great cleanup. But student athletes are incredibly busy right now. I know there were a number of seniors that have a lot going on in their lives. It was great that they came and provided some support and assistance to their hometown, and I was really appreciative of the coaches and the student athletes that took the time to support our efforts. So I just wanted to recognize those coaches and those programs, and they do that every year. This wasn't a new thing. Every year, the different sports of the season, and even out of season there's sometimes, but the sports of the season, whether it be, usually it's in the spring, but sometimes we've done it in the fall, those sports teams are always there, and I'm very appreciative of that. So I just want to recognize, thank you for bringing that up to me, Mr. Miko. I meant to make a note of that before tonight. Mr. Swanson.
Sorry, I also had that on my list that I forgot to mention. I think you do title it Pride in Peabody, and you show these kids come out. The students and the athletes, student athletes, were out there in force, and they showed the pride in their school because they were all wearing colors, as well as the Pride in Peabody. So again, commend their coaches for having them out there, and there's these students throughout our city that came out and helped clean our city up. So great job with that.
Mr. Hockman, I'll turn it back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. In closing out this committee report, it's actually part of the Athletics and Wellness Committee that I forgot to mention earlier. I just wanted to publicly thank gentlemen who stepped up to take care of one of our 13-year-old Babe Ruth teams. Even though the team is called the White Sox, this manager has his kids calling him Stick. And I said, why are they calling you Stick? And they said, well, for Gene Michaels, the former Yankee manager. We just want to report out that White Sox team, I think, is on a 3-game winning streak, and they're winning by touchdown scores, not baseball scores. So thanks, John Olympio, for stepping up and taking care of a group of kids.
Thank you. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, thank you for that, Mr. Olympio. It's all the coaching. It's all coaching. Excellent. Anything else you wanted to add? That was a great report, Mr. Hockman, and I appreciate you working on these items. Anything before we close?
I'm tired.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm tired too. All right. Couple more boards though here, just to touch on Special Education Parent Advisory Board. Mr. Olympio?
Nothing to report.
Okay. City Council and Legislative Delegation, Mrs. Carpenter?
Nothing to report.
Okay. And redistricting.
Yes,
Mr. Hockman?
I'm really excited. We're getting close to finalizing this subcommittee. We're meeting again this Monday here at the Higgins at 6 p.m. in the library. I anticipate that we're going to have perhaps 2 more meetings after this, and being able to present options to the school committee. The hope is, and the expectation is, that we'll present to the school committee either the last meeting in September or the first meeting in October of 2022.
Thank you, Mr. Hockman. Okay, we did have one item under new business, the superintendent's evaluation. We did touch on that. We'll be getting some information over. I know Mrs. Dunn will be sending me some information also. We'll get that out, but we'd like to move forward with that process. And our next city council meeting, school committee meeting, is 2 weeks from today, Tuesday, May 24th, 7 p.m. here at the Higgins. And prior to that, we do have a hearing on our budget, May 17th, 2022 at 6:30 here at the Higgins as well. So the next couple of Tuesdays, we'll be having those meetings. Items for the next meetings will be handled in the regular course of business. I appreciate everyone's work. We covered a lot of ground today, and I apologize to people that were watching that we did get started a little bit late today. We did have a subcommittee meeting prior to this evening's meeting. So thank you, everyone, for your patience tonight. Motion to adjourn. That's all in favor. Thank you.